How do I do my taxes? Dad, what does that even mean? You hear people say, I have to do my taxes.
hmm
I feel like a lot of people don't know where to even begin, what
Yeah,
their options are, and what that even means. And I know it can be different for different people.
yeah.
So I'm going to let the expert take it away.
Okay. Well, there are basically three ways to complete the tax return. You can complete it yourself, you can complete it through a service, or you can use an accounting firm, for example. So one of those three is virtually everybody uses one of those three.
Okay.
To do your taxes,
Yeah.
okay, regardless of which of those processes or processors you use, if you want to call it that, to do your taxes, you have to pull together information that relates to income and expenses that have a taxable impact for the prior year. We have a W-2 employee or we have a 1099 contractor or self-employed. If you're a W-2 employee, most of what you're going to have is a W-2, which is something that all companies are required to put these out by the end of January to all their employees. And it says what you earned and what was withheld in taxes. And that goes on to the tax return, the front page, basically, of the tax return. Then you might have some interest and dividends from the bank. So again, what you're doing is you're pulling all of this together. If you are self-employed, it's very different. For self-employed, you've got to pull together and calculate all of your revenue from your business for the year. And it's good to do it as you go rather than trying to figure it all out, later on, right?
On April 14th.
April at 10
The day
p.m.
before.
or April 15th at 9 p.m. And all of your legitimate deductible expenses from your business. And effectively, you take those two numbers, you subtract the expenses from the income, and what you have is your profit from what you did.
And that's the only number that's actually taxable.
Correct.
So I think something important to note here that people might not realize is that if you're a W-2 employee, taxes are taken out of every single one of your paychecks. So it's not something that you have to worry about throughout the year, really. But if you're self-employed, which this is something I recently learned, you don't get taxes taken out of your money. You're paid, and then you have the option to either be paying quarterly estimated taxes, right, throughout the year,
Right.
where you're paying somewhere between 25 and 30% of what you made for that quarter into taxes.
It varies by how much, but 25 or 30
Somewhere
for most. Yep.
in there, so you don't owe a ton come tax season, because if you don't do that, you could owe thousands of dollars.
Plus interest.
Plus interest and
Right.
a penalty for
Yep.
paying it late.
Yep.
So that's just an interesting thing, an important thing to know. If you're self-employed, you are going to be responsible for figuring out how much you owe in taxes throughout the year.
Look how much she has learned. This is awesome.
Okay, so I feel like we understand a little bit of the differences between being self-employed and a W-2 worker when
Yep.
it comes to the way you pay taxes. But I want to go a little bit more into detail on those first three options you gave us. You said that you can either do taxes on your own,
Yep.
or you can do it through an accountant,
Yep.
or you can do it through an online service.
It might not be online, but services that are just tax preparation
Yeah.
and filing services.
Okay, so I feel like we know that with an accountant, they kind of control the experience for you. They tell you what you need to send in. They tell you what you need to fill out, if anything. But I'm curious, if you're going to do it on your own, what actually are your options and how would you go about doing that?
Well, there are a lot of resources at the government website, irs.gov. So, for example, the 1040 form, Schedule C, Form SE, you can pull all of those things down off of the website from the government.
Oh.
Okay. So that can help you see what information you're supposed to be entering. But there aren't that many entries for most young people. The reason is that there's something called itemized deductions, and there's something called the standard deduction. And really what it means is the standard deduction is going to be better for most young people to use. So you don't have to.
Because we have less expenses.
Right. You have less mortgage interest, property taxes, charitable donations,
Dependents.
things that would otherwise be an itemized deduction. If they don't reach like $13,000 for an individual or $27,000 for a married couple, you just get to use $13,000 and $27,000 and you don't have to fill out the rest of it.
Yeah.
So, for most people, it's really a matter of just putting in those basic income numbers. It's relatively straightforward. If you work for a company and you just have a W-2, entering the W-2 numbers primarily, maybe a little bit of bank interest and how many dependents you have, that kind of stuff. and you're done. Doing your taxes, quote unquote, is probably less than an hour in that instance.
See,
So
you
it's
don't need to
not
be
so bad.
stressed out unless you're self-employed. Just kidding.
When you're self-employed, it's all a whole
It's a
ball of
little
wax, different
different.
ball of wax. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably easier to go through a service if you're self-employed.
I would say so. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't do my own taxes. There's just
Mm.
too much of depreciation and, corporate pass-through income. It's complicated. So you definitely don't want to.
Going over my head. I don't know what that
You
is.
definitely want to use a service or
Some sort of professional too, maybe.
professionals
Yeah.
for
Okay.
things when they're complicated like
Yeah.
that.
And in terms of services, I've heard of people using like TurboTax. There are different websites I think you can go to enter your information, and I think it'll help you go through it a little bit easier than if you're just on your own. But I think this should give you enough information depending on what your situation is, how complicated your taxes might be. Hopefully you can find the right choice for you. And if you need any more information on income taxes, we actually do have a full-length video. I want to say it's like 20 or 30 minutes long that goes way further into depth. We look through forms and we kind of fill things out together. So if you want any more knowledge, we're going to link that right here. Thanks so much. And like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.